Jathaya Stotravetraikapanaya Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gītāmritaduhe Namaha. Let's recite the verses. All of you can unmute and chant these verses. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava Pritchami tvam dharma samudachita Yashreyasam yaschitam bruvhitanme Vishyasreyam bhakimam prapannam Dehinosmin yatha dehe Param yauvanam jara Tatha dehantara praptir Dhirastatra namuhyati न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे भोगैश्वर्यप्रसक्तानां व्यापरिचेतसां व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समाधौ न विधीयते प्रकृतेः क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहङ्कारविमूढात्मा समाधकर्ताहमिति मन्यते एवं परम्परा प्राप्तं मम राजर्षयो विदुः तत्कालीने महता योगो नष्टः. We also will recite the next part shloka test, shlokas 2. परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम् एवं यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति सोऽर्जुन तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनः सत्त्वदर्शिनः ये संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनय एव ते आद्यन्तवन्तः व्यया न तेषु रमते बुधा. We learn 2 more shlokas which complete the shlokas for this unit for memorization. Please repeat after me. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam
भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां
सर्वलोकमहेश्वरम्
सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं
सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां
सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां
ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिं ऋच्छति
ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिं ऋच्छति
योगिनाम् अपि सर्वेषां
योगिनामपि सर्वेषां
मद्गतेनान्तरात्मना
मद्गतेनान्तरात्मना
श्रद्धावान् भजते यो माम्
श्रद्धावान् भजते यो मां
समे युक्ततमो मतः.
समे युक्ततमो मतः.
So this will be the last 2. So from now on we will be just reciting the shlokas together, and I also request that those who are completed the test and those who are going to complete the part 1 test should also try to memorize these, the 6. And we will be taking the test for these once we enter the 6th chapter. Mostly it would be the end of November, because we will have a little break because of I'm going out for Kartik Yatra and I think some of you also would be busy that time. So we will be doing the shloka recitation test.
So we'll be able to take your darshan there, Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. All of you are also there. Wow. I'll also be able to see beyond the small boxes. Yeah, Hare Krishna. So very nice. So we continue from where we had left off. We had completed the 4th chapter of Gita, the Jnana Yoga, in which the last section we learned last time, that was the section of Yajna, and especially we were dealing with the transcendental knowledge. All the Yajnas culminate in transcendental knowledge, and how do we learn it, and what are the benefits we receive from it. So we had learned this. So just to see the most important verse, that is this 4.34, Tadvidhi Pranipatena. Very, very integral verse for a devotee. We should learn this. And there were also many benefits which were listed by Krishna after telling this shloka of how to seek transcendental knowledge from spiritual master. Primarily 3 words very important. One is submission, Another is inquiry. And third, what's the third? Any of you remember? Third one, submission, inquiry, and
Seva, Prabhu.
seva. Yes, service, the spirit of service. So now we enter the 5th chapter. After Krishna spoke about the beautiful benefits of transcendental knowledge and how Arjuna should fight in this spirit of having yajna and equipped with the transcendental knowledge. So if you see the verse before the 5th chapter, the last verse, Krishna told, armed with yoga, stand and fight. Use the weapon of knowledge. Stand and fight. So Krishna is giving a call for fighting, having this knowledge. Now, Arjuna has some questions. Before we go to the question, this chapter is traditionally titled as Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Very specific reason why this word is used, Karma Sannyasa. We will see that very soon. But I want one of you to please read the summary below. Any of you, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'll read.
Yes.
Outwardly performing all actions, but inwardly renouncing their fruits. The wise man, purified by the fire of transcendental knowledge, attains peace, detachment, forbearance, spiritual vision, and bliss.
So, the word chapter number 3 is also called Karma Yoga. Chapter 5, in fact, is called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And Prabhupada translates it as Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. So we will learn this, why this specific title, why there is a repetition of topic which Krishna is doing. It's because of Arjuna's question, and Krishna takes the discussion to much deeper level. So especially here, one important thing to note is inwardly renouncing the fruits of reaction. Yeah, that is the sannyasa aspect. It's an advanced stage of Karma Yoga. It's Karma Yoga in perfection. What was explained in 3rd chapter is Karma Yoga in the beginning or in practice. The focus was to do one's duty. So there was discussion of Karma Kanda and many other things also. And especially there was a discussion of lust, the enemy of a Karma Yogi, all that. But now, at an advanced stage, a Karma Yogi should renounce the fruits, not renounce the action, but renounce the fruits. That's his goal. So he should adopt it. And by that, he purifies. How that happens, how he in fact moves from the self-realization more towards now God realization. That will be very evident in this chapter. We will see that. Let's go to the first verse of this chapter, which in fact unfolds the entire chapter. So the text 1, which is Arjuna speaking, is in fact asking a question. Arjuna uvacha.
Arjuna uvacha.
Sannyasam karmanam Krishna.
Sannyasam karmanam Krishna.
Punaryogam cha shamsasi.
Punaryogam cha shamsasi.
Yachreya etayorekam.
Yashreya ekam.
Tanme bruhi sunishchitam.
Bruhi sunishchitam.
So this is very similar to Arjuna's verse, which was in the beginning of 3rd chapter. There also he asked something like this. Tell me, vada nishchitva ekayor, do not vyamishreneva vakyena. So basically, Arjuna is asking, Arjuna, Krishna, you told sannyasam, that is to renounce, and you told karmanam, that is to do fighting. Now, after telling sannyas, why are you telling me to fight? Where did Krishna use the word sannyasa? Let's go back 2 verses. Go to the shloka number 41. That is the seed verse for this. Please refer to the shloka number 41 and point out that line where Krishna has used the word sannyasa. Please see.
Yoga sannyasasta Prabhu.
Yoga sannyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam. So Krishna has used that word, sanyasta karmanam. So when Krishna used the word yoga sanyasta karmanam, let's see that. No, those who may not have it in hand, the book, see this word, yoga sanyasta karmanam. This is shloka number 41. So what it meant, literally, Arjun, actually the context of discussion is that how with the transcendental knowledge, a karma yogi, he realizes that fruit of performing karma yoga, that is developing detachment. So yoga sanyasta karmanam, yoga means to engage or to be active, to do something. Sanyasta means, sanyasa means to leave something. And karmana means activities. Now, literally it means that you renounce the action. But there is also the word yoga. So Arjuna understood that Krishna is telling me to renounce the action and focus more on jnana. That's what Arjuna also was looking for, right? Yeah, jnana means renunciation. Arjuna is telling Krishna, you glorified the knowledge. That means you're telling me that I should in fact continue in my determination to renounce the battle. But Krishna, when he told this shloka, what he meant that act in this world in the spirit of renunciation. Not renouncing the action, but renunciation in the action. There is a difference here. Renouncing the action means you don't do the actions at all. You don't do any karma, any activity at all. Now, renunciation in the action. Any of you can explain what does this mean? What's the difference in this word, renunciation in the action?
No expectation from any results or outcome.
Yes. The spirit of not expecting this is how it should turn out to be. This is how it should not turn out to be. Is it not? Yeah, correct. So that's the spirit of renunciation in the action. So if you see the shloka Prabhupada translated, renouncing the fruits of his activities. So Arjuna is asking the beginning question here. Krishna, you told sannyasa and you told karmana again. Why are you confusing? Tell me one thing. Yat shreya etayor ekam. Tell me one thing. Again, the same question which was in the beginning of third chapter. Tell me, sunishchitam, certainly you tell me what is that one thing I should do. Who is reading the translation? Please.
May I read, Prabhu?
I'll read,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Translation. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?"
Yat shreya. Shreya means better or more beneficial. So Prabhupada explains why this question at all is arising in the mind of Arjuna. Please read the highlighted part.
Sure, Prabhu.
Yeah.
In this 5th chapter of Bhagavadgita, the Lord says that work in devotional service is better than dry mental speculation. Devotional service is easier than the latter because, being transcendental in nature, it frees one from reaction.
So Prabhupada is actually declaring what Krishna is concluding later. He's telling it before. The essential question is work in devotional service versus renunciation or dry mental speculation. So Prabhupada explains later more by simultaneously stressing the importance of both work in devotion and inaction in knowledge. Krishna has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. You may remember in the chapter 4, we saw some verses which meant, hey Arjuna, see the action in inaction and inaction in action. Do you remember these verses? Where it was mentioned, karmani akarmayah pashyet. See the inaction aspect in the action. And see the action aspect in the inaction. So there was these very puzzling verses. So Krishna has used those verses and Prabhupada is explaining that has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. In fact, Arjuna, playing the role of conditioned soul, is asking this question for all of us. So he says ahead, please read this part. He thinks that
sannyasa or renunciation in knowledge should be altogether free from all kinds of activity, because work and renunciation appear to him to be incompatible. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non-reactive and is therefore the same as inaction. He inquires, therefore, whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge.
You see, people often have this difficulty. It's where everyone has, actually. You tell me what is right or wrong. Don't tell me something in the middle. Or you say whether black or white. Do not tell something in the middle. You know, like in the color spectrum, just for example, there is red and there is, I think, blue. Blue. Red and blue. Yes. Then there is something violet which comes in the middle. You know. Now, if someone wants to understand violet, how can you explain violet to him? Oh, it has this particular qualities which are closer to red. This has this particular qualities which are closer to blue. You know, one may explain, but one may wonder, how can there be something which has qualities of little of red and blue also? So it's very difficult. Always we think in this binary understanding. You know, let's put it like this: whether 0 or 1. You know, we think like this: either I should work or I should renounce. Krishna, tell me one thing. But what Krishna proposed to Arjuna, you work in the spirit of renunciation. Now, this is actually very difficult to understand. It's not something so very easy. And Arjuna, playing the role of conditioned soul, is putting forward this question. So Krishna answers the question of Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan
Sanyasa karma yogascha.
Sanyasa karma yogascha.
Nishreyasa karavubhau.
Nishreyasa karavubhau.
Tayostu karma sanyasat.
Tayostu karma sanyasat.
Karma yogo vishishyate.
Karma yogo vishishyate.
So Arjuna seemed to have asked a very same question which Krishna has answered earlier. But Krishna doesn't say, Arjuna, I asked this question, go back to my recordings earlier and hear them. He doesn't say that. He says, okay, Arjuna, you've not understood it. Let me explain it at a much deeper level, at another angle. You know, this shows the great patience and compassion of Krishna. It doesn't get, disturbed or, angry at Arjuna's similar question. But now Krishna takes this opportunity to discuss the subject at much deeper level, with much more clarity. He wants to be understood by Arjuna. So he says, there are two things, Krishna, Arjuna, you are asking, sannyasa and karma yogascha. Sannyasa, karma yogascha, nishreyasa karav ubhau. Ubhau means both. Nishreyasa. See the word-to-word meaning of nishreyasa. Any of you? Please see the meaning, nishreyasa. What's the meaning given?
Leading the
path of liberation.
Liberation. That means nishreyasa means both actually lead to liberation. Ubhau means both. Ubhau. So both sannyasa and karma yoga, both of them lead to nishreyas, that is liberation. But among them, tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate. Among the two, karma sannyasat means renouncing the action and working in the spirit of renunciation. Renouncing the action or renunciation in the action, karma yoga. So renunciation in action, that is karma yoga, is better. Vishishyate. See the word meaning of Vishishyate. It says better. So very similar words Krishna told in the 3rd chapter also. So he told the answer in the very first verse very clearly. But after that, he explains at much deeper level. So let's see the explanation. So please read the translation, Prabhu.
Translation. The personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work.
Now, Prabhupada, very nice purport he gives for this shloka. In fact, he quotes from Bhagavatam. He gives such a nice understanding of this. In this world, everyone works seeking some happiness. Everyone wants some selfish happiness. That's why they are working. When that happiness is in the body level, we call it sense gratification. And that kind of work is called fruitive activities. So Prabhupada quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam very nice verses, very enlightening verses, which are spoken by Lord himself when he came in the avatar of Rishabhadev. In the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a famous chapter of instructions of Rishabhadev to his 100 sons. The eldest son being named as Bharata, that same Bharata who later renounces and he becomes attracted to the deer, that Bharata. In fact, there is a very famous history also which says that based on this Bharata's good character and rule, this tract of land called as Bharatavarsha. So he's a very famous king, very ideal in his character and knowledge. And he heard this knowledge from his father, who was in fact an incarnation of Lord himself, Rishabhadev. And he spoke these shlokas. 3 shlokas Prabhupada has quoted here. And these shlokas, in fact, give such a comprehensive understanding of how a jiva in this world works. Why does he work? What is the intent with which he works? And what is the fault in it? And how one should rectify. Because you see, the chapter is discussing about work in the spirit of renunciation, work in knowledge, or Krishna consciousness. All 3 are same. So this word has to be understood properly. It is not just about doing duties. It is about properly understanding the goal of one's doing duties. So Prabhupada quotes those verses. These are very nice verses, but I will directly take all of you to read the translation. Prabhu, you read from here. People
are mad after sense gratification, and they do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruitive activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good.
1 minute. So there are so many stories in Bhagavatam which explain this particular principle. How someone who is very mad after selfish enjoyment, he is facing misery, but he doesn't realize it. Do you have any example? Or any incident also you can say, if it need not
Ajamila, Prabhuji, Ajamila.
Ajamila, okay, Ajamila. Can you explain why you say this example for this principle?
Ajamila also, even though his father is very good, parental background and wife, everyone is good, but he diverted towards other material
enjoyment, okay.
Enjoyment. But at the end, he just he recited Bhagavan's name and he was liberated.
See, what is the principle for which we are asking? What principle?
Will go mad after sense gratification.
Someone who goes mad after sense gratification gets miseries, but he cannot see that. This is very clear. So you have to explain the example supporting this principle.
Prabhu,
So
Hare
say
Krishna,
the same
Prabhuji.
example, Ajamila itself, say Ajamila, he became mad after enjoyment. He left all that family, very nice sattvic lifestyle he had, but he kept facing misery after misery after that. But he was so mad, he was not able to see that, right? That way you can explain the Ajamila. Very nice example.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Tulsi.
Dhritarashtra, Prabhu.
Dhritarashtra, explain it. Very right.
Yeah.
Explain it.
Yeah. Even though he knew what his son was trying to do is wrong, he supported him. And at the end, he lost all of his 100 sons, Prabhu. He
Yes.
knew, even though he was um, given guidance by everybody, Bhishma, everybody, but even then he did not listen.
His hopes for enjoyment kept getting defeated, but he was nonetheless so shamelessly staying in the palace.
Yes.
Right from his birth, he was having a difficulty. He was not having eyes, but more than that, he did not had proper knowledge also. When people were giving him knowledge, he was not accepting it. He could have done better following their advice. But he kept holding on to those hopes of enjoyment, if not himself, through his sons. And he devised so many wrong situations, dangerous situations for his sons' competitors, Pandavas, as you see. So he was so mad. He was trying so much. He did face so much misery. All his sons died. Not even one remained. Is it not? So much misery he faced. Yes. Anyone else? Any other example?
Ravana, Prabhu.
Ravana. Yes. Explain, Mataji.
I mean, he was so mad after sense gratification, and especially, behind women. I think in the past he was supposed to learn that he cannot desire women. Actually, he was also
First.
cursed by woman, but despite that, he's not understanding the his intense lust for women, and he went after Sita Devi, who should have realized that she's not an ordinary woman.
He also lost all his sons, all his wealth. He was so mad after that. Yes, very right. All his very similar to Dhritarashtra's character. Very right. Very right. So this is something so mad drive. It really covers the jiva so much. In the Shastras, there is one incident wherein Indra, who is considered as a devata, who has a better knowledge than at least human beings. So he also becomes covered by this sense gratification. It is told that at one point of time when he was cursed to become an animal, that to a pig in the material world, that's in the earthly planetary system. And Brahmaji himself comes to remind him, oh, Indra, you actually don't belong to this, leave this, you have to come back to resume your duties and enjoy the comforts there. But he was so covered up. He could not even realize the higher enjoyment, even on material level. Can you imagine? So this is the extent to which the ajnana or avidya can cover up a jiva. So Prabhupada is explaining that the body one receives is a result of one's fruitive activities of past. And this body keeps giving trouble after trouble. So an intelligent person, he should understand this. And this is explained in this shloka. Please read it ahead. One is considered to be failure. Yes, Prabhu.
Sure. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his real identity. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitive results for sense gratification. And as long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another.
So this happens for everyone. There is no exception to this in this world. Every jiva, unless it's a pure devotee or some avatar of the Lord, everyone has to go through this experience, engrossed in the consciousness, sense gratification, which makes one repeatedly take bodies after bodies. And then the solution also is given in the further lines. Please read.
Although the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop a love for devotional service to Vasudeva. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence.
Yes. So only when one develops pure love for Vasudeva, in the shloka it is told, Pritirna yavan mahi Vasudevi. Only when one develops love for Lord Krishna, then only this karmic mentality, karma vasana, in the shloka it is told as karmatmakam. That word has come here. Karmatmakam yena sharira bandha. That word is there. So this whole mentality of gaining enjoyment, calculating always, how can I get more enjoyment? How always thinking about this mentality is very difficult to be, to dislodge it from our mind. Only when one develops a very strong love for Lord can that mentality be taken away. It can go once and for all. So this is very, very clearly told by Prabhupada, because this is something very fundamental in understanding of Bhakti Yoga. So now Prabhupada explains. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, even Tulsidas also, Prabhuji, he likes his wife Ratnavali very much. And once when she went to her mother's house, during the night time, he swam across the river, and he traveled on he thought that it was a log or something, but he traveled on the dead body, and he reached his house, and he thought that it was a rope, but he hold the snake and he reached but at that time Ratnavali, she got very angry. I mean, she told that you are having so much interest on me. The same interest, why can't you put in the God? Because of her only he is able to write Ramcharitmanas later.
Yes, very right.
Inspiration.
Very nice. Yes. So he was awakened by her words, which was actually his guru speaking through her. Actually, it's also explained.
Like Mangal Thakur also similar story, no, bro?
Very similar story. Yes, very almost similar story. I read this Tulsidas story at that place of this thing, Chitrakoot. There they had written. So this story is also attributed to Tulsidas too. So only when one develops that love for Lord Vasudeva can one be properly freed from this mentality of karma kanda, karmatmakam. So Prabhupada explains further. Please read this. Jnana.
Therefore, jnana or knowledge that one is not this material body, but spirit soul, is not sufficient for liberation. One has to act in the status of spiritual soul. Otherwise, there is no escape from material bondage. Action in Krishna consciousness is not, however, action on the fruitive platform. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthen one's advancement in real knowledge.
Real knowledge. This is interesting. Activities performed in transcendental knowledge, in full knowledge, strengthen one's advancement in real knowledge. It's not that renunciation of activities will strengthen one's knowledge. It's activities performed in full knowledge. What is that full knowledge? It soon is going to come. In fact, in this particular purport only Prabhupada is going to explain that. So, what is that full knowledge? Prabhupada explains further that one who understands that everything in this world is actually belonging to Supreme Lord, and therefore there is no spirit of renunciation here. There is spirit of utilizing it for service of Lord. So Prabhupada explains those people who falsely understand that this world is false, it is therefore to be renounced. There is no value in it, so there is no meaning to this world. That's why it has to be renounced. They are at a greater risk of fall. He says here, such kind of renunciation also is not complete. Rupa Goswami explains this in the further. What is called complete renunciation? What is proper vairagya? That is explained in this. Read this part, Prabhu.
Renunciation is complete when it is in the knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord and that no one should claim proprietorship over anything.
So Prabhupada very interestingly, it's there in the further part. Say suppose someone comes to your house. He picks up, say from your kitchenette, he took some knife and some cutter board and things like that. And then he took it for some time, he used it, and then later he comes and then he drops it at your house. Now I don't want it, take it. I'm giving it I'm leaving it away, take it. Then you will ask, first of all, it was not yours. You took from someone else. It was never yours. And now you are telling that you're renouncing. It's such a insensible thing, is it not? That is, how can someone say that I renounce something of this world when it is not yours? What we have to renounce then? We have to renounce that this false understanding that there is something which I own. Prabhupada explains it very nicely. Explains this understanding that this is mine, these things belong to you. How long, how much do you own? It is so very little and for so small time. And that also you don't have much control over it. So Prabhupada says, therefore a devotee, he uses whatever Krishna has given in whichever little amount of time it is given in the service of Lord. See, in this world, there are three worldviews. It's a very famous thing you might have heard also. One is someone who thinks everything in this world belongs to me. So he grabs more and more and more. He's in the worldview that everything is meant for my enjoyment. That's one worldview. That's a purely materialistic worldview. Another worldview is to see that, oh, this thing is going to distract me. This thing is false. You see, this is taking me, making me fall into illusion. So he always fears engaging in this world. And that kind of understanding makes a person reject the things of this world. Rejection. The worldview of rejection, negation, or renunciation in the very external sense. But that's the view of someone who is not fully developed in spiritual knowledge, someone who has an impersonalistic view. So someone who has a complete understanding, like Prabhupada is explaining here, a proper devotee, he understands everything belongs to Lord. So he engages the things, even the relationships he has in this world in connection to Supreme Lord. And that way he makes them divine. So these three worldviews, the last one explained is most practical and most effective. It is something which everyone can take to. And it is something which is very effective. So Prabhupada is Krishna is going to further and further explain this point. How Karma Yoga is easy, it is superior. This point is again being explained by Krishna in the further verses. Is this point clear so far what we discussed? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu,
Yes,
I have one
Prabhuji.
question.
Yes, Ramradip. Yeah.
Sorry, Prabhu, if I have something wrong. Prabhuji, here it's mentioned that action in full knowledge is equal to sannyasa.
Correct.
Prabhu, I know Prabhupada is clearly mentioning you do actions in Krishna conscious activity, anyway, they are separate. But sometimes, Prabhu, with full knowledge, I do things which makes me happy. But I know they are wrong, but I am doing with full knowledge. Is it considered sannyasa, Prabhu?
Full knowledge, see, you have to maybe break this down
Yes,
in the
Prabhu.
sense of what exactly you mean, because
Yeah,
when you say something makes you happy, but it's not.
I'll just crude
what
example,
will you
Prabhu. I don't
say?
know. Say I already have like one home, Prabhu. That is sufficient for me. But I work very hard. I know I don't have to work hard, but even then I work hard to get one more home for myself. I know here I'm doing with full knowledge. I know it's wrong, but I know that it's wrong, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it full knowledge only, right, Prabhu? But even then it's, is it
See,
sannyasa? Sorry,
at
Prabhu.
the stage of sadhakas, we also have knowledge and we also have some weaknesses. Both are there because we are not fully pure. So we have knowledge, we have heard it, we have kind of theoretically accepted it, At the same time, when it comes to apply in our life, it has to follow one's realization. Okay, we may have knowledge of understanding, like theoretical knowledge, but when it comes to apply, we have to follow what one has realized. What is it that can help him in further progress? Say, suppose one's heart is filled with an ambition that yes, I want to earn more, and maybe I'll offer the results to Krishna, and I will engage in devotional service more. Then for him to dovetail those ambitions in service of Krishna may be better. But because the ambitions cannot be just theoretically killed, it should happen more organically by the awakening of devotional service. And we cannot force feed that, So how that can be made to happen? By association of great devotees, by rendering service to great devotees. And maybe part of that is also to engage those ambitions in service of Krishna. By that one purifies, one realizes, yeah, I should in fact actually dedicate myself more time and energy in service of Krishna in a direct sense. So full knowledge, as is explained here, is to engage, everything is belonging to Krishna. That means even myself, my time, my energy is also Krishna's. So I should dedicate, I should use it for Krishna's service. Is it not? So one who has a higher realization of it, at the purest sense, he will only and only do service to Krishna. That's a very higher platform I am explaining. But at the level of our realization, we have to apply it on guidance. So as I just mentioned, one may be having ambitions, that's not wrong. Just as Dhruva Maharaj had great ambitions, but the expertise of his guru purified him, and later he himself says that he now finds all that material wealth he has gained as not much more valuable than pieces of clothes. So like this, one acts under the guidance of spiritual master, the purification happens, that realization dawns. It doesn't remain theoretical knowledge. So that's the difference between having realization and just knowing the truth. So here, what we're talking of, sannyasi, he has that realization, one who is a karma yogi. That's why we told it as an advanced stage of karma. He has a realization. I hope it helps.
Sure, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
So often we may think that one who acts in this world is not sannyasi. Sannyasi is someone who doesn't act in this world, or who wears certain particular clothes. But now Krishna, very contrastingly, he's going to define sannyasi now. What does that mean? Let's see the text 3. Jneyah sa nitya sannyasi
Jneyah sa nitya sannyasi
yo na dveshti na kankshati
yo na dveshti na kankshati
nirdvandvo hi mahabaho
nirdvandvo hi mahabaho
sukham bandhat pramuchyate.
sukham bandhat muchyate.
So Arjuna, here what is sannyasa mean? One who works in this world and yet not attached to the reactions. That means what? Say suppose something good happens in reaction to his work. He doesn't become enamored by it. Wow, so nice it happened. This is what I desired. No, he doesn't become kankshati. And if something wrong happens, he doesn't, become angry against it. Yo na dveshti, na kankshati. Such a person is called nitya sannyasi. This is something very deep realization of it. So such a person is called a sannyasi. Arjuna is defining. Please read this. One who neither
hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjuna.
Krishna is going to define Tyaga or Sannyasa in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He says again the definition of Tyaga or Sannyasa there. If you are interested, please read 18th chapter, maybe among the first 10 or 15 shlokas itself, where he defines Tyaga under 3 modes. Someone who renounces the things of this world in great frustration, or in great regret. He is in a lower mode, maybe passion or ignorance. Someone who, while renouncing things of this world, he's thinking, oh, I'm losing something. He is fearful of this world. That's a very low level of Tyaga or renunciation. And Krishna says the higher level of Tyaga, higher practice of Tyaga is actually working in the spirit of renunciation. That is not desiring the fruits of activity. So this definition which Krishna is saying here is going to repeat in the 18th chapter also. I'm just making you note this because there also it will be explained further. So Prabhupada describes the understanding of this Tyaga in this particular purport. He says, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness is always a renouncer because he has no hatred nor a desire for results of his actions. So there are so many examples in especially in the Bhakti Yoga tradition of someone who was very much acting in this world, but he was not attached to this world. Such people are technically called as Jivan Muktaha. Jivan Mukta, they are called. They are in this world living, but they are already liberated. One very famous example I heard this from His Grace Radhesham Prabhu. He says this example very much. Like you have a coconut. The coconut, the inner pulp, that white thing which is there, when it is very tender, it's very much stuck to the shell inside. And as it becomes dry and dry and dry, the water is not there and it becomes dry. At one point of time, you can even shake it and you will hear the sound. That means his antaratma, antaratma in the sense of his atma here, it has become completely detached from the attachment to the body and mind, it's like that. So though he is living in this world, he has become someone like Jivan Mukta. He's liberated, he's as good as liberated. So there is one shloka of Rupa Goswami which Prabhupada will quote in the further verses which define Jivan Mukta. One who has dedicated his complete existence for the serving Lord, he is Jivan Mukta. Though he may be in this world, he has that great conviction. So that person is called Jivan Mukta. He is a true sannyasi, Krishna is defining here. In fact, Krishna goes on to say, Arjuna, you are thinking of sannyas. In fact, what one gains by sannyas and what one gains by acting in the spirit of sannyas is same. He says the next shloka, very interesting. Sankhya yoga prathak bala.
Sankhya yoga
Sankhya yoga pratak bala.
Pravadanti na panditaha.
Pravadanti na panditaha.
Ekam apyas astita samyag.
Ekam apyastastita samyak.
Ubhayor vindate phalam.
Ubhayor vindate phalam.
Arjuna, I am not telling you two different paths. I am telling one path of having different stages. Something which is easy and superior, something which is difficult and not to be easily followed or accepted by general people. So Sankhya means here Sankhya in the sense of analysis. Sankhya yoga or Sankhya was jnana, which Krishna explained in the 2nd chapter, you may remember. This is equated to sannyasa. And yoga, here this means karma yoga, that is working in the spirit of renunciation. So to think Sankhya or sannyas and acting in the spirit of renunciation, that is yoga, to be different, prithak, is to think like a child, bala. Child may not understand how things are one in purpose. They don't understand. They want to just see what is zero, what is one. It's a binary understanding. But one who is a pandita, he will understand both are having one purpose. Ekam api asthitaha. Because both are leading to that one fruit. Ubhayor vindate phalam. The phala which one gets by acting, even in the spirit of renunciation, or by renouncing the action, both the phala is the same. So see the unity in purpose. Don't see just diversity. Don't see only difference. So that's the word which Krishna is explaining. Can someone else take up the reading? Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Someone
Krishna.
else would like to take the reading?
I will read Prabhuji. Hare Krishna
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Translation.
Yeah.
Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both.
See, one thing I want to warn or caution here, because later it will become more clear. When we speak of sannyas, in the path of bhakti also you hear sannyas. In the path of bhakti also you hear about vairagya or tyaga. But that tyaga is different from what Krishna is speaking as renunciation or vairagya or karma sannyasa. So karma sannyasa means to renounce all type of action and just engage in analysis or contemplation or search out for that supreme truth by one's intelligence. That is what Krishna condemning, or not condemning, he is telling that that's inferior. That is not easy. In fact, he says that's very difficult. So here he says, only the ignorant speak that devotional service, that is bhakti yoga or karma yoga, and analytical study of material world, that is Sankhya, are different. Traditionally, when a person takes to sannyasa, he is in the level of jnana yoga or jnana kanda. There, he has not fully understood the supreme truth. So what he does, so he, based on his experience of the world, and now he's learning from the scriptures, he contemplates and then he tries to come to an understanding of supreme truth. So that is like searching for the truth. He's searching. What is that one supreme truth? Where can I find it? He's searching. And another path, which is devotional service, is he has already come to the understanding of supreme truth. Now he has to worship that supreme truth. Are you getting the difference between both? One is searching for the truth. Another is he has gotten the truth. Now he has to serve that supreme truth. So Prabhupada explains this in the purport like this. One process is to find the root of the tree, and other is to water the root. The root, what is the root compared here? What's the root?
The Supreme Lord.
Service, Prabhuji. Krishna
Supreme Lord, the
consciousness.
supreme truth. They are trying to find that one truth.
Yeah.
I experienced in my whole life, everything was changing. Everything was falling off in its meaning and value and purpose. What is that one truth for which we exist? What is the real purpose of living? So that truth he is searching. At the level of karma sannyasa, he is searching for the root of the tree. But in the other path, that is the devotional service or karma yoga, he has already gotten the knowledge. Now he is working in the spirit of renunciation. So he is watering the root. So the first process is the process of, what process is this? Searching for the root of the tree. What process is it according to the shloka?
Sankhya Yoga.
It's a search for the truth.
Sankhya. And the other one, this is watering the root,
Karma Yoga.
Karma
Yoga.
Yoga, devotional service. Please read the remaining part, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Those who do not know the ultimate end say that the purposes of Sankhya and Karma Yoga are not the same. But one who is learned knows the unifying aim in these different processes.
They have the aim one only. That is the root. So one is searching for the root, another is watering the root. You know, in another explanation of this shloka, it is told, one person who is holding something in his hand, now he has to hold an axe. Say, suppose he has to cut the tree. So he has to hold an axe. Now, how he can pick it up? Whatever he is holding in the hand, he should drop it, and then he has to pick the desirable thing. To drop something is like renouncing. And to take something is like he is now committing to supreme truth. Are you gaining this understanding? You know? So this is how it's explained. But both can be done simultaneously. You know, so usually when a person is taking to this jnana yoga or renunciation of action, what is he doing? He is dropping whatever he has in his hand, so as to take up the right thing. The goal is that. And the one who is in knowledge, is working in the spirit of renunciation, he is doing that simultaneously. So Prabhupada explains this also in the next shloka. By Krishna's words only it comes out. Yat sankhya prapyate sthanam.
Yat sankhya prapyate sthanam.
Tad yogair api gamyate. Ekam sankyam cha yogam cha.
Ekam sankyam cha yogam cha.
Yah pashyati sa pashyati.
Yah pashyati sa pashyati.
So saying the same, Krishna is re-emphasizing this. He's saying, what one gains by Sankhya, yat Sankhya prapyate sthanam. जो आप सांख्य से प्राप्त कर रहे हो, you know, yat Sankhya prapyate, प्राप्त करना. Now, whatever you want to attain by Sankhya, that same tad yogair api gamyate, उसको आप योग से भी प्राप्त कर सकते हो. That you same thing can be attained by yoga, that is karma yoga. Ekam sankyam cha yogam cha. That's why both are same. And one who sees this, he truly sees. It's not the one who is externally seeing, but one who understands the purpose behind both the paths as same. He is really seeing or understanding these paths. Please read the translation, Mataji.
Yes, translation. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are.
They are. So Prabhupada explains that in the purport. Please read the highlighted part.
In the first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter. And in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. Factually, both processes are the same. Although superficially, one process appears to involve detachment and the other process appears to involve attachment. Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. Hare Krishna.
So Prabhupada is telling here, very nicely in simple words, he is explaining. So detachment from matter is for what purpose? Is for developing attachment to Krishna. Especially in Bhakti line, this is very much stressed. In the Bhakti path, when we talk of, say, stopping sense gratification or renouncing, or for that matter, even sannyas, why is it taken? It is taken only and only for a higher service to Krishna, to dedicate more to Krishna, to develop more attachment to Krishna. Not that one is feeling some fear of material world, one wants to escape some miseries. No. In fact, when one takes to the spirit of when one takes to the sannyasa order, he desires to work more for Krishna. Even in the level of sannyasa, he is working. And that working, that is the sannyasa taken by bhakti yogis, is equated with yoga here. And the sannyasa taken by those who don't have understanding of the supreme truth is equated to Sankhya or Karma sannyasa. So we should not equate the sannyasa taken in the bhakti line to be what Krishna is explaining as Sankhya here, because that will become evident in the very next purport. Okay, so after explaining this oneness in purpose between Sankhya and yoga, Krishna further says, how if a person who has taken sannyas, but if he doesn't engage in spiritual cultivation, especially if he doesn't develop attachment to the supreme truth, it becomes very troublesome. It becomes very miserable. You know, Krishna very clearly says in the word dukkha. Let's see this verse. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkham aptum ayogataha yoga yukto munir brahma na chirenadi gacchati. Hey Mahabahu Arjuna. Arjuna is addressed as Mahabahu, one who has very strong arms, very powerful. So by sannyasa, you say suppose he renounced his actions, but he did not engage in spiritual cultivation. Such a person will face lot of dukkha. Dukkhamaptum ayogataha. But on the other hand, a person who has engaged in this world in proper knowledge, in the spirit of renunciation, he is not attached to the fruits. Such a person, he will attain his goal, spiritual goal, very quickly. Na chirenadi gacchati. Very soon he will attain his goal. That's explained here. Please read the translation, Matri.
Yes, translation. Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay.
Without delay. So very clearly it is mentioned. Just renouncing but not engaging in devotional service will not make one happy. So Prabhupada goes on to describe the two types of sannyasis here. As I was earlier telling, there is sannyasa taken in the bhakti line also. So who are called as Vaishnava sannyasis. Like the great, many acharyas in the Vaishnava line, Ramanuja, Madhva, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, many like that. Goswamis, Srila Prabhupada, all of them are examples for Vaishnava sannyasis. So there is a very nice analysis of the two types of sannyasa here. One is a sannyasa of rejection of the world. Another is a sannyasa of engaging everything in the service of the Lord, including this world. So it's a very nice explanation. Let's read this from the very beginning.
Prabhuji, can I ask one question before that?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Prabhuji, engaged in devotional service,
Yeah.
so it is possible he cannot be renounced also?
Yeah. Yes. So when we talk about sannyasi here, it doesn't only mean one who is a Vaishnava sannyasi. It means someone who is working with family, but in the spirit of renunciation. I was going to give that example after this. Anyway, the question has come. Srila Prabhupada called his very dedicated Grihastha disciples to be more than sannyasis. I will tell an incident. There was this incident of his very early disciples. the 6 disciples. They are basically 3 families. Shyam Sundar Prabhu and Malati Mataji, and Gurudas Prabhu and Yamuna Mataji, Mukunda Goswami and Janaki Mataji. These 3 of them, who are very new, just few months of associating with Prabhupada, they went to United Kingdom because Srila Prabhupada desired that my Guru wanted always that Krishna consciousness should spread in London. And he had even sent few of his disciples, sannyasi disciples, but they could not do much. So can you go? So seeing that Srila Prabhupada wants it, out of great love for their Guru, they decided to go. Even just with a few months of understanding of Krishna consciousness. Even they did not know how to even play kartal. Just before going, Prabhupada taught them how to play kartal. Can you imagine? And they went there, and within few months, they could even attract very influential people in the society of United Kingdom. Someone like Beatles became very, very, very favorable and made a record, and there were so many concerts which were held, and it came in the newspaper actually. That Hare Krishna startles London like this. And when it came like this, Srila Prabhupada was sent the newspaper cutting, And when Srila Prabhupada saw this, he became so happy. And he told, here are my grahastha sannyasis, he told. So he equated grahasthas into sannyasis. Why? Because though they had families, in fact, they had small children also. But they were very much working in the spirit of serving their spiritual master. In that sense, they had renounced all other material comforts. Is it not? So such kind of dedication is very natural for someone. Such kind of detachment is very natural for someone who has dedicated to spiritual master. That's why it is told a bhakti yogi is naturally a sannyasi. A true bhakti yogi is naturally a sannyasi. He is already detached because he has that great dedication, great love for Lord and his pure devotee, that is his Guru. So it doesn't depend on specific ashrama. Bhakti yogi, it could be grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi, brahmachari. It could be any of them, any walk of life, any walk of society. Is that clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. And if he is in devotional service and not renounced, then also he can attend the Supreme?
Yeah, he has to go through that path in the sense of he has to develop that Vasudeva Preeti. We saw in one of the purports before. Do you remember? Because one has to get freed from the mentality of sense gratification, karmatmakam, and that happens when one develops very strong love for Lord Vasudeva. Yes, so one should endeavor to develop that prema for Lord, and that is the path of cultivation of bhakti.
But Prabhuji, still, if he has renounced, then but still he wants fruitive results. Is possible?
He has renounced, but how does he expect fruitive results after renouncing?
Like he is into devotional service, but doing service also he want results.
So that means he has to undergo purification. He is still attached to the results.
Okay.
Yeah. So the highest level of service is that he does it for the pleasure of Lord, and the results are he puts his best, and he always tries to make it better and better. But he is not affected by the result. Earlier one shloka said that who is a true sannyasi is one who doesn't hate or doesn't become very much disturbed by the reactions like that.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So here is a very nice comparison coming of 2 types of sannyasa. So we will be reading this very nice comparison of Vaishnava sannyasa and Mayavadi sannyasa. In fact, you need not consider that it's Vaishnava sannyasi alone. It is something like a lifestyle of a genuine Vaishnavas who have advanced. It could be someone in Grihastha order, it could be someone in Vanaprastha order. But because the shloka tells about sannyas, so Prabhupada has taken 2 types of sannyas. So can you read this beginning onwards, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
There are two classes of sannyasis or
Yeah.
persons in the renounced order of life. The Mayavadi sannyasis are engaged in the study of Sankhya philosophy, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are engaged in the study of Bhagavatam philosophy, which
I want
opposed
1 minute. As everyone is hearing this, at the end you should be able to tell me the differences between both the sannyasis. Okay, so we just go with that exercise. Please try to pay attention. There are very nice details Prabhupada is saying here. So Mayavadi sannyasis are engaged in the study of Sankhya, and Vaishnavas are engaged in the study of Bhagavad. Continue, Maharaj.
which affords the proper commentary on the Vedanta Sutras. The Mayavadi sannyasis also study the Vedanta Sutras but use their own commentary called Shariraka Bhashya, written by Shankaracharya. The students of the Bhagavata school are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord according to Pancharatriki regulations, and therefore the Vaishnava sannyasis have multiple engagements in the transcendental service of the Lord. The Vaishnava sannyasis have nothing to do with material activities, and yet they perform various activities in their devotional service to the Lord. But the Mayavadi sannyasis engaged in the studies of Sankhya and Vedanta and speculation cannot relish the transcendental service of the Lord because their studies become very tedious. They sometimes become tired of Brahman speculation, and thus they take shelter of the Bhagavatam without proper understanding. Consequently, their study of the Srimad Bhagavatam becomes troublesome. Dry speculations and impersonal interpretations by artificial means are all useless for the Mayavadi sannyasis. The Vaishnava sannyasis who are engaged in devotional service are happy in the discharge of their transcendental duties, and they have the guarantee of ultimate entrance into the kingdom of God. The Mayavadi sannyasis sometimes fall down from the path of self-realization and again enter into material activities of a philanthropic and altruistic nature, which are nothing but material engagements. Therefore, the conclusion is that those who are engaged in Krishna conscious activities are better situated than the sannyasis engaged in simple speculation about what is Brahman and what is not Brahman, although they too come to Krishna consciousness after many births. Hare Krishna.
So they are also going to come to this stage, but the devotees who are directly serving Lord are better situated. So can someone please tell few differences which you found in this purport between Vaishnava sannyasis and Mayavadis? Yes.
Vaishnava sannyasis already realized that personality of Godhead, and he is just serving the God. Whereas Mayavadi sannyasis are searching for that.
Searching for the root. We had seen earlier. Yeah. Okay, that's one example. Anyone? Any other?
The Vaishnava sannyasis are relishing the transcendental service, whereas Mayavadi sannyasis are dry speculation.
Correct. They relish their life. Others are like they are torturing. They are somehow trying to bear that by tolerance, like that. Yes, that's very nice. Second example. Second difference. Then, what are their specifics? Please see the purport. There are many.
Mayavadi sannyasi can fall down anytime back to the material world, whereas Vaishnava sannyasi cannot.
Why Vaishnava sannyasis won't have that danger?
They have full knowledge of absolute truth.
Okay, they have full knowledge. Anything more?
They have love to the Krishna. They are into the loving service of the Krishna. That's why they can't fall.
Okay, they are more emotionally engaged in the service of the Lord, so it's difficult for them to fall. There is some more reason. Very nice reason is given. One more. Please check. They have varieties of engagements, where Mayavadi sannyasis don't have much engagement.
Happy in discharge of transition. They're happy in discharge of transitional services.
Yes, correct. Happy in the discharge of their transcendental service, multiple engagements. Yeah, Pancharatriki regulations, many like that. Otherwise, the others, they become tired of speculation. Sometimes they have also come to Bhagavatam, but they are not able to understand it because they don't follow the parampara. So like this, there are many, which I just try to get this chart, which describes all of them. At least if you notice the 5.6 verse, which is the current verse, all that is described here. Earlier ones also are left pointed here. Maybe Mataji, can you read this one after another like this so that everyone compares it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Say the heading and then start. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhuji. Renunciation. Difference between renunciation and work in devotion. Renunciation, needs for purification by prescribed duties. Work in devotion or Vaishnava sannyasis, process itself purifies. 5.2, simply gnana insufficient for liberation. Action is must act in status of soul. 5.2. Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, continue. Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. 5.2 verse. Renunciation, risk of fall down. Work in devotion, success guaranteed, entrance into God's kingdom. Incomplete renunciation and complete renunciation to use everything for Krishna. 5.4 verse. Renunciation, find the root Vishnu. Work in devotion, water the root. 5.5 verse. Renunciation, process is to detach from matter. Work in devotion, become attached to Krishna. 5.6 verse. Renunciation, no happiness. Work in devotion brings happiness. 5.6. Renunciation, senses restricted, cannot relish transcendental devotional service. Work in devotion, senses engaged, perform multiple devotional activities. 5.6 verse. Renunciation, take many births. Work in devotion, quickly achieve Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5.6 Renunciation, study Sankhya philosophy. Work in devotion, study Srimad Bhagavatam.
I hope all of you are able to remember these words we read in the purport. So it's just put in the form of a table here.
Yes,
Mataji, continue. Yes, 5.6.
5.6 Renunciation, Shariraka Bhashya on Vedanta Sutra by Shankaracharya. Work in devotion, study Srimad Bhagavatam, natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra. 5.6 verse. Renunciation, may fall down to philanthropic and altruistic activities. Work in devotion, have multiple engagements in devotional service according to Pancharatriki regulations. Hare Krishna.
So many very nice. It was a good collection and presentation of the points. So I just took this table from another study guide and thought to put it here. So like this, work in devotion is far efficient, far safer, far easier. That's why it is superior. That's the proposal of Krishna. So he's telling karma yogo vishishyate. So now he goes on to say how one should perform that work in devotion or work in spirit of renunciation or karma yoga. So that is the description which is coming from the 7th shloka onwards. Yes, any question?
Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, no, not a problem.
Prabhu, work in devotion, there is last point, Pancharatriki regulations.
Yes.
According to Pancharatriki. Could you
just...
Yeah.
You want to know about that?
Yeah, Prabhuji, please.
Okay. So in the purport, there is the word called Pancharatriki. The Prabhu is asking, what does this mean, Pancharatriki regulations? This word is saying here. So in the Bhakti path, there are two vidhis or sub-paths, you can say. In the Bhakti Yoga itself, there are two ways to engage oneself. One is called Bhagavat Vidhi, another is called Pancharatriki Vidhi. At the stage of practice, actually a person follows everything in a regulation. He acts, that is, say, suppose he chants, he worships the deity, he follows certain instructions of his guru in regulation as a sadhana. He doesn't have very natural attraction to follow. Say, suppose he is worshipping the deity. He has heard from his guru that he should worship the deity, and there are, the deity is not different from the Supreme God. So he is acting on the strength of instruction of his guru. So his guru has told him how you should wake up early, arrange all ingredients, follow the very strict regulations in the worship of deity. That is Pancharatriki Vidhi. It's more specifically about deity worship, but it can also be expanded to other practices but all are based on regulation. At this time you should do this, at this particular day you should do this. It's all regulation. At the stage of Bhagavata Vidhi, which is predominantly the activities of hearing and chanting based on spontaneous love, Bhagavat Vidhi, a person is more driven by attraction to the Lord. That's Bhagavat Vidhi. So he naturally loves to hear about the Lord. He naturally loves to speak about the Lord. His service also is impelled by an attraction to the Lord. He gets up early in the morning, not because his guru has told, but because he loves to go and take darshana. There is this famous incident. Is this clear? What we just now described?
Yes, Prabhu.
Is it clear? Yeah.
Thank you.
I just got reminded of one great Vaishnava. In south of India, there was a very great acharya by name Kulashekara. He's one of the acharyas in the Sri Sampradaya. So he had such great love for the Lord. He was an Alvar, Alvar, one of the chief Vaishnavas in that line. There are 12 Alvars, by the way. So he had such great attraction to the Lord that every day he would get up and go to the temple much before even the priests would come. He would go and wait at the door. Oh, I want to see the beautiful Perumal. The Perumal is the word for the Lord. I want to see the Lord. And that was his attraction. One day it so happened that he did not get up. Usually a king, when he has to get up, there are so many associates who are his servants. They also get up and they have to, sing some nice poems, and then they have to arrange certain things. And when he has to go, they also go with him. They go as ballads. Many things are there. When the king walks out, it's a great festival ceremony. So that day, they saw that king is not woken up. He used to get up very naturally. What happened today? So one day he did not get up. So they were very worried, and they went inside and they told, "Oh Lord, oh great king, what happened? You were getting up every day early." Then he told, usually we may think maybe he slept for long, he missed it. That's how we feel, right? Like, say, suppose I get up early, I get late. Sometimes it happens. Because my determination was not strong. I hope you try to resonate with me what I'm saying. So it happens like that because we are very much in bodily consciousness. But this Acharya, who is a great king, by the way, he's a king. Please note that he's a king. He's not a sannyasi. So he was a famous Pandya king. He came in the line of Pandya dynasty. So he had gotten a dream of Lord, and the dream went long. That's why he was sleeping. And when he was woken up, he got out of the dream, and then he told what actually happened in the dream, and he was narrating, and all well understand. Yeah. Our king is a very great devotee, Baba. He's not like us who wants to become lazy and lie down in the bed. So that's the difference. What it means, spontaneous attraction, and what is a state of a sadhak. Is that clear?
Thank you.
One question to that one, Prabhu. I know, Prabhu, in all our temples, like we follow Pancharatrika Vidhis.
Correct.
In the temples and all, but this one, Prabhu, Bhagavat Vidhi, is it specific to a person, Prabhu, or is it also followed in the temples and everything?
See, when it is told Pancharatrika Vidhi, conventionally it means deity worship. Okay. Means when we have a deity in the temple and Lord is present as the deity, Guru has, during the Avahana or Prana Pratishtha, Guru has invoked the deity and he has told the service to the deity will be carried out. Nitya Seva, it is called. And the disciple following the order of his Guru, he's there to serve the Lord because Guru has told him. He serves the Lord because Guru has told him. So that way, Pancharatra Vidhi, Srila Prabhupada established in many temples, in many communities, even at the homes also, when we bring deities, we also render service in that mood. Now, Bhagavata Vidhi, conventionally, it is thought as hearing and chanting. That is, chanting of holy names, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, which is usually relished at a very high stage. But because we follow regulations, because Guru has told us to chant 16 rounds, hear Srimad Bhagavatam daily, if not daily, at least come once in a week together and, in the Sangha of devotees, hear it. So we follow it as regulation. So that way Bhagavad Vidhi is also there with us. We are performing both the Vidhis, like a 2 tracks of a rail, train. Both the Vidhis are practiced. In fact, at the level of sadhakas, Pancharatra Vidhi is something non-negotiable. Though it looks very inferior, just hearing and chanting is sufficient. No, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has told chanting of holy name is the Yuga Dharma. Why do I need to worship the deities? Someone may say, but Srila Prabhupada did establish deities. Why he established deities? Because at the stage of sadhakas, we need the engagements for our senses. Like in this particular purport we saw, Vaishnava sannyasis have multiple engagements. How those engagements come? You see, they all come because there is a deity. Someone goes and arranges cleaning, brings some bhoga, worships the Lord. Is it not? Punctually he does so many sevas for the Lord. There is so much festivities which happen. Much of the activities in Bhakti Yoga are all centered around deities, right? Just now there is Damodar Utsav, is it not? Just see that whole festive atmosphere. Now Govardhan Puja is going to, is it not? So why? Because deities are there. Deities are the most merciful incarnations of the Lord. And because Guru has requested, the deities have descended. And one should go and celebrate. In fact, by serving the deities, our senses, mind, and intelligence become purified. Otherwise, what is there for our senses and mind to do? Our mind is so impure. Even when we are chanting Hare Krishna, it's running for something else. Is it not? So we do it, because our Guru has told we should do it. We do it. At the same time, our senses also need some practical engagements. So that's why there are deities, there are services. So, and also by serving the deities, one becomes very deeply convinced about the personal form of it. Yes, Lord is a person. How do I know it? Because by serving, you understand that you develop that attraction to the Lord. That realization becomes strong. It doesn't remain theoretical. As one does the service, one will gain that realization. So there are many benefits which a sadhaka can derive. Even the Goswamis who are great devotees, they also had deities. They also were following Pancharatric Vidhis. So in that sense, it is something so integral. Usually some may try to discount deities, thinking that only chanting is the highest. But Srila Prabhupada did establish it. Okay.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So without this Satsang Vidhi, one cannot achieve that Bhagavata Vidhi, right? That's what my understanding. Because Bhagavata Vidhi, I understand, is a Bhava stage, right? So one has to
It is at a higher stage, but the activities of Bhagavad Vidhi, we also do. That is hearing and chanting. But it's more on the strength of Guru's instructions than at the level of Bhava. It comes at later. That same activities, one is doing at the level of Bhava later. Like that. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's clear.
Yeah. So now, from shloka number 7 onwards, Krishna is describing how to work in devotion. He described so far how work in devotion or work in the spirit of renunciation is superior. Now he is going to describe how it is superior or how it should be performed, by the way, in the shlokas which are coming. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma.
Yoga yukto vishuddhatma.
Vijitatma jitendriyah.
Vijitatma jitendriyah.
Sarvabhutatma bhutatma.
Sarvabhutatma bhutatma.
Kurvan api na lipyate. So very clearly the practices and the results one achieves is very clearly shown for another 6 shlokas from here, telling how to perform Nishkama Karma Yoga, work in the spirit of renunciation, That's the topic from here. So he says, Krishna says, Yoga Yuktaha. They are engaged in spiritual activities. How they are engaged? Vishuddhatma. Our acharyas explain Atma here can mean many meanings. So in Vishuddhatma, Atma means intelligence. So they have pure intelligence. They engage their intelligence in Krishna. Vijitatma, they have very controlled Atma. Atma means here mind. See, here Atma means intelligence. Here Atma means mind. So here it was meaning that intelligence is engaged in Krishna. Here it means mind is engaged in Krishna. And Jitendriyaha, they have conquered the senses. Indriya means senses. How? By engaging the senses in Krishna's sense. So they have engaged their intelligence, they have engaged their mind, and they have engaged their what? The third one.
Senses.
Senses. All three are engaged in Krishna. And they, very interesting, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. They become Atma of all the Atmas. Now here in this word, in this one shloka, Atma has many meanings. Atma of other Atmas means they become very dear to other jivas. It should be understood like that. So how one performs work in devotion in this particular shloka described that he engages intelligence, mind, senses in service of Krishna. He becomes dear to all the jivas. Very interesting. How he becomes that, let's see that ahead. Kurvan api na lipyate. By doing so, they will not be bound by any reactions. Read the translation.
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled.
Never entangled. So these three things are very nicely explained. How he becomes dear, Prabhupada explains it in the further highlighted part. Can you read, Mataji? One who is?
Yes, Prabhuji. One who is on the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness is very dear to every living being, and every living being is dear to him.
Dear to him. So for this, Prabhupada explains two examples. So I will give a more practical example from the lives of devotees. But here Prabhupada gives Shastric example, the analogies. One is pouring water to the root of the tree. Then naturally one nourishes the other parts of the tree. The second example is supplying food to the stomach. Naturally nourishes the other bodily limbs. So from here, Prabhupada describes how that happens in the life of a devotee. Because, read this.
Because one who works in Krishna consciousness is servant to all. He is very dear to everyone. And because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. And because his mind is controlled, his senses are also controlled.
Controlled. See, this natural sequence is given. See, first of all, what happens in the practice of a conventional karma yogi who may not have fully realized Krishna is that he sees that everyone is actually not their bodies, but Atmas. That way he sees oneness with all. He sees that, oh, they are also Atmas. And that's why I should treat them at the level of Atma. And that way he becomes very respectful to them. In a devotional service context, he sees that everyone is actually dear to Krishna. Everyone is servant of Krishna, dear child of Krishna. So that way he is servant to all. He is serving Krishna, so he is also serving Krishna's children or those who are dear to Krishna. That means everyone, be it an animal, be it someone who is a very poor person, someone who is very rich, someone who is very ugly. Everyone is dear to Krishna because they are children of Krishna. In that sense, a devotee, a true karma yogi devotee, He is servant of all. In that sense, he is dear to everyone. I would like to give an example from the life of Goswamis here. There was one of the Goswamis, if you know it, maybe try to get the name. There was one Goswami living in Vrindavan. He had such great devotion to Krishna, and he would see all the residents of Vrindavan are so dear to Krishna. Even a dog, even someone who is a small girl or small boy or some old man, some old lady, everyone is dear to Krishna. Every Vrajavasi is very dear to Krishna. So he would go for begging from door to door. In his Madhukari vritti, he would go for begging. And when he would go, he would not just beg and come. He would ask, "Oh Lali, what happened to you? How are you? What happened to your cow? Has the new calf been properly taken care? What happened to your, that daughter who was given to that village?" He's asking all this. He's a sannyasi, by the way. He's a Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis. Any of you know who is that? Very famous Goswami. Let me describe him further. So this Goswami, he would go like this, and he was loved by all the Vrajavasis. In fact, he knew every house of Vrindavan and what their life is, how they're leading, what they need. He would go and help them. He would offer some guidance, all that. Some solace, all that he would do. And he became very dear to all the Vrajavasis. He was called as the Mahant of Vrindavan. The whole Vrindavan loved him. He is Sanatana Goswami, the eldest Goswami. In fact, the elder brother of Rupa Goswami. He was so much loved by all the Vrajavasis that when in his old age, this devotee was so dear to all the Vrajavasis. He wanted to perform Govardhan Parikrama. He would daily perform Govardhan Parikrama. Now Govardhan Puja is very soon coming. So he would daily go for Govardhan Parikrama. At a very old age, when he wanted to go, it's told that Lord Krishna himself came and gave him Govardhan Shila. "Oh, Goswamiji, why are you taking the trouble? I am giving you the Govardhan Shila. See, take this and just go around this for a few times." And that's equivalent to Govardhan Puja. So he became so dear to Krishna by serving his devotees. Even to this day, one of the great parikramas of Govardhan happens on the day of his disappearance. Even more number of people than the Govardhan Puja day. More number of people come to do Govardhan Parikrama on the day of his disappearance. His day of disappearance comes on Guru Purnima day. It's told that so many Vrajavasis come on that day and do, because they loved Sanatana Goswami, who loved to do Govardhan Parikrama. Why I'm saying this is, a devotee, he is not callous to the world. He is not in this spirit of rejection. Oh, these people, anyway, they are suffering. They are reaping their karma. No, he wants to do benefit to them. He wants to serve them. Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. This is for a karma yogi, but for a devotee, it's at much, much deeper level. So that way, Prabhupada is explaining how a devotee becomes very dear, because he is serving all the people. He's seeing all of them in connection to Krishna, and he serves them. He's a servant of all. And everyone is satisfied by his work. He is pure in consciousness. By that, his mind is controlled, his intelligence is controlled, his senses are controlled, and ultimately he becomes very dear to Krishna. So these examples Prabhupada gives very nicely here. There is one more small statement. If everyone is becoming dear to such a devotee, then how can such a devotee fight battles? Arjuna is told to fight a battle. At the same time, he is given an instruction. You become a work in the spirit of renunciation and become dear to all. How is it that he is following this instruction? Or is Krishna contradicting? So that is explained by Prabhupada here. Can you please read this, Mataji? A man of controlled senses. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. One may ask, why then was Arjuna offensive in battle to others? Wasn't he in Krishna consciousness? Arjuna was only superficially offensive because, as has already been explained in the second chapter, all the assembled persons on the battlefield would continue to live individually, as the soul cannot be slain. So, spiritually, no one was killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only their dresses were changed by the order of Krishna, who was personally present. Therefore, Arjuna, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was not really fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such a person is never entangled in the reactions of work. Hare Krishna.
Because Arjuna is following the instructions of Krishna, who has told him, you serve all these people by slaying them. That's what Krishna told. He told it in the second chapter also. So that's why Arjuna is not offensive. His actions are not impelled by selfish spirit. He is acting truly in the renunciation spirit. That's what Prabhupada is explaining here. So this was the first instruction on how to work in devotion. Now Krishna further explains in the next shlokas. Naiva kinchit karomiti
Naiva kinchit karomi
yukto manyeta tattvavit
Yukto manyeta
tattvavid
pashyan shrinvan sprashan jighan
pasyan shranvan sparshan jigyan
ashnan gachan swapan shwasan
asnan gachan swapan swanam
pralapan visrajan grahnan
pralapan vistrijan gruhna
unmishan nimishannati
nimishan ap
indriyani indriyartheshu
indriyadeshu
vartanta iti dharayan.
vartanta iti dharayan.
So one of the understandings of karma yogi is that actually the actions which are happening are not happening because of me, but they're happening because of the material nature, because of this body. This body has certain needs, and that's why it is fulfilling. Like he says, Krishna says here, a karma yogi thinks he is not an independent doer. He is dependent on prakriti. So the prakriti, that is the prakriti which involves here the body. So the body has certain needs. It is following certain laws, the laws of nature. So according to that, the actions are being performed. So he knows, naiva kinchit karomiti. I am not the doer of actions. That means I am not the independent doer. In fact, prakriti is the doer. And he knows that these activities like pashyan, that is seeing, shrinvan, hearing, sprishan, touching, jighan, smelling, ashnan, tasting, gachan, walking, swapan, sleeping, shwasan, breathing. Like this, there are many activities told. Pralapan, visrajan, grahnan, unmishan. All these are happening. How they are happening? There is a sense that is either jnanendriya or karmendriya, and there is a sense object. And the sense and sense objects are interacting. And I, being the Atma, is not this sense or the body. I am beyond it. See, this understanding is very fundamental for a karma. When someone thinks I am doing it, that means he also becomes responsible for the result of that action. He becomes, he has to bear the reactions. He becomes attached to the reactions. But a karma yogi understands, it is happening because senses and sense objects are interacting. So now this doesn't mean that a karma yogi doesn't desire something, because Krishna is going to further explain this thought. He is going to evolve this thought further. So please read the translation. Can someone else take the reading? Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I can take.
Yeah, please read, Mataji.
Thank you.
Translation: A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and he is aloof from them.
See, this is a very deeper understanding. It's a realization for him. So, Prabhupada explains further.
A person in Krishna consciousness is pure in his existence, and consequently he has nothing to do with any work which depends upon 5 immediate and remote causes: the doer, the work, the situation, endeavor, and the fortune. This is because he is engaged in the loving transcendental service of Krishna.
In shloka number 14 of 18th chapter, Krishna explains that any action is done by 5 factors, not just one. See, why is Krishna telling this? So that we realize that anything which happens in this world, say suppose I do something, is it that I am the cause of the result of that action? No. There are so many things which assisted, which came together, and that's how a result came. Say suppose a person is growing some grains in the farm. Is it that he is the only cause of the grains or harvest? No. He sowed the right seed. First of all, the seeds were given to him. He desired to grow certain particular crop, and then he endeavored, his body helped him. And then when he sowed the seed, there was also timely rains, is it not? And there were not much insects or pests. At the end, there were not many rodents or like rats and things like that to take away his crops. And at the end, he could reap the crop. Then there was a good price in the market. Nowadays, that's very important. Is it not? Sometimes you grow a crop, but the price is not there in the market. Sometimes there is an enormous price when there is no crop in the market. So there was a good timely price, and that's how he made a good fortune, is it not? So just see how many factors are involved here. So Krishna, he very technically analyzes, and then he says that there are 5 causes behind any action. I'm not going to describe this detailedly, but here Prabhupada has listed doer, work, situation, endeavor, and fortune. If you want, please refer to that, 18.14, that's the shloka number. But a devotee who is working, he is not affected. It's written here, what is it? He has nothing to do with any work which depends on these causes, because he is acting in the spirit of love for Krishna. Though he is acting in this world, his senses and sense objects are interacting, but he knows that I am not desiring any engagement of sense with the sense object. In that way, he is not emotionally involved in that interaction. See, one thing is, say suppose I am feeling hungry, I eat. But if I make my goal of life as getting good food, or if I plan my whole day in getting good food, that means what? I am emotionally involved. That means I consider myself the cause of getting good food. That means I have to bear the reaction for it. Are you getting this chain? So, Prabhupada is explaining this part, that one who is working, thinking that he is the doer, he has to face the reactions for that work. But for a devotee, that doesn't come. In fact, going ahead, Krishna further describes what else are the ways in which a devotee functions or a karma yogi functions. Brahmanyadhaya karmani.
Brahmanyadhaya karmani
Sangam Tyaktva Karoti ya.
Sangam karoti
Lipyate na sapapena.
lipyate na sapapena
Padma Patram Ivambhasa.
patram basa.
So Prabhupada describes here Brahma. Brahma means a spiritual purpose, or in fact it is called Supreme Lord. So a person who offers his activities for that spiritual purpose of the Supreme Lord, he doesn't have Sangha, that is attachment. For such a person, the reactions don't stick to him. Lipyate na sapapena. Their sinful reactions don't stick to him, just like the water drop on a lotus leaf doesn't stick to it. It glides off. Padma Patram Ivambhasa. Patra means leaf. You may remember seeing in your villages also when a water drop falls on a lotus leaf, it stays as if it is like a moti. It's not sticking because there is a wax layer. And at a very slight movement of the leaf, a slight breeze, that drop, it falls off into the water. Is it not? So like that, what is the lotus leaf compared to? What is the lotus leaf compared to?
Material.
Detachment.
Detachment.
Supreme.
Huh? Sorry, say again.
Supreme.
Supreme. No.
Material world, Prabhu. So this.
Material world, okay. Be exact. What is the water drop compared to? Okay,
or actions.
Actions or reactions? It's the reaction which come and stick to a person, is it not? When someone does any activity, what comes and sticks to him? Reaction. Yeah. But here, the water drop is not sticking to the leaf. So please help understand this analogy. What is the lotus leaf? What is the water drop?
Devotee, Prabhu, lotus leaf is devotee. Who is in devotional service?
A karma yogi or a devotee. He is the lotus leaf. What is the water drop? What is the water drop?
The results of actions he performed.
Results of action, correct. So please remember this analogy, very important for your exams too. Read the translation, Mataji. One who performs.
One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results onto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful reactions, as a lotus leaf is untouched by water.
Read the highlighted part.
One who knows perfectly well that everything belongs to Krishna, that he is the proprietor of everything, and that therefore everything is to be engaged in the service of the Lord, naturally has nothing to do with the result of activities, whether virtuous or sinful. Even one's material body being a gift of the Lord for carrying out a particular type of action can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. It is then beyond contamination by sinful reactions, exactly at the lotus leaf, though remaining in the water is not wet.
Not wet. No? So like that, a devotee, a karma yogi, may be in this world, which is like a muddy water. The lotus is there in the muddy water. Like that, a karma yogi or a devotee is there in this world. But no impurity, not even a drop of water can stick to that lotus leaf. Similarly, no reaction, be it sinful or virtuous, be affecting such a karma yogi or a devotee. Further describing the actions of such a karma yogi, Krishna says, Kayena manasa buddhya Kevalair indriyairapi Yogina karma kurvanti Sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye.
Sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye.
So Krishna says, Kaya. Kaya means
Body.
Body.
Correct. Manasa, mind, buddhya, intelligence, indriya, senses. So all these are used kevala for the Supreme Lord. Yoginaha karma kurvanti, for a spiritual purpose. These are engaged. Kaya, manasa, buddhya, indriya. And especially he desires Atma Shuddhi, Atma Shuddhaye. He desires purification of himself. He knows that I have been contaminated by reactions. And as long as I don't have the spiritual purpose, I don't serve the Supreme Lord, I don't get detached from these reactions. That's why, desiring purification, he engages in the work properly. Read this, the yogis.
The yogis, abandoning attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification.
Read below.
When one acts in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the senses of Krishna, any action, whether of the body, mind, intelligence, or even the senses, is purified of material contamination.
Prabhupada is describing for a devotee how this happens. So I was telling about a shloka which describes Jivan Mukta. Though one is in this world, but he is already liberated. Usually liberation happens after one's death, right? But someone who is living in this world is already liberated. That is possible for a devotee. So Rupa Goswami describes by karma, actions, by manasa, that is mind, by gira, that means words, kaya, vacha, manasa, we say, right? If someone serves Lord Hari by one's body, mind, and words fully, such a person is called Jivan Mukta. Very famous verse of Rupa Goswami this is. So Prabhupada has quoted that verse to explain about how a devotee naturally is a jiva. So concluding the section of how to perform work in devotion, Krishna further summarizes it here. Yukta karma phalam tyaktva
Yukta karma phalam tvekta
shantim apnoti naishtikim
apnoti naishtikim
ayukta kamakarena
ayukta karena
phale sakto nibadhyate. So Krishna says, such a karma yogi working in renunciation, he is engaged, he works, he is active in this world, but he doesn't have karma phala asakti. He renounces the attachment for reactions or fruits of action. By that, he gains shanti, which is very difficult. When one has intense greed or desire, peace is impossible. So, but a person who is ayukta, who is not engaged in this world, but because he has so many desires in his mind, so he is still attached. Phale sakto nibadhyate. You see, a person who renounces without having such a purification, he is at a far greater risk or dangerous situation, because for him there is no proper way to act in this world because he has himself renounced. Only thing he can do is now fall into some wrong activities, which is adharmic. So that's why it's a great risk, that is karma sannyasa. So Prabhupada describes, read the translation, the steadily devoted soul.
The steadily devoted soul attains unalterated peace because he offers the result of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled.
Entangled, you see. So Prabhupada describes, read the highlighted part, the
person who is attached to Krishna and works for him only in certainly liberated person, and he has no anxiety over the results of his work. In the Bhagavatam, the cause of anxiety over the result of an activity is explained as being one's functioning in the conception of duality, that is, without knowledge of the absolute truth.
Usually a person falls into anxiety when he thinks that there is something which is not in control of God, Krishna, and it may happen, it may cause some bad thing to me. So such a feeling, such a insecurity arises when one doesn't have a strong understanding or faith on Krishna. So Prabhupada at the end says the secret of Krishna conscious realization. Read this.
The secret of Krishna conscious realization that there is no existence beside Krishna is a platform of peace and fearlessness.
See, the understanding, the realization that there is no existence besides Krishna. There is nothing beyond Krishna. There is nothing which is beyond the control of Krishna. You see, one example comes to my mind. I will end with this. When there was a great war happening in Delhi, there was a lot of bombs which were being dropped. And Srila Prabhupada was at that time cooking some bhoga for his Lord, deity. He was cooking kachoris. And when many people came to him and told, Abhay Babu, please switch off the lights. There has been an alarm that we should switch off lights. Otherwise, the enemies will detect the city here and they will drop bombs. Please go to the bunkers and take shelter of those bomb shelters. You know? So they were telling loudly, Abhay Babu, go. But he told, Arey, if the bomb is coming, that's also another form of Krishna. If Krishna wants to make me die, I will die. Ultimately, it's Krishna who is protecting, not that I run into the bomb shelter. And that, see, this is a realization of a very advanced stage. You know, as I already described, this is Karma Yoga at an advanced stage. We cannot imitate it. At the same time, we should know this is the realization which we should all strive for, and we should adore and respect such a high stage. So, Srila Prabhupada was seeing the bomb also as Krishna. And later, of course, he was cooking bhoga for the Lord. He cooked and then he went and took a shelter in the bomb shelter too. The point is, the one who understands that there is no existence besides Krishna, he is peaceful, be it in the happy stages or in the great risks or dangers. That's the secret of peace, which will be told at the very end of this chapter, the peace formula. Prabhupada coined that shloka. It will come at the very last shloka of this chapter. We will see that maybe in the next session or next to next. We will see how it goes. So we will end for today here. So today we started the 5th chapter, which began with the question of Arjuna. What was the question? Any of you remember? What was the question?
He says, on one hand, you asking me to renounce, and then you're asking to fight. So please be clear, he says.
Yeah. It seems like a repetition of the question in 3rd chapter, but Krishna, he takes the discussion to much deeper level. He explains about how sannyasa, spirit can be there even while acting in this world. So he explained the first 6 shlokas, which is about how karma yoga is equal to or even easier than renouncing work. That was the first 6 shlokas. And then we also saw how a Nishkama Karma Yogi, working in the spirit of renunciation, how that happens. You know, there were many pointers to it, how such a person, he engages his Kaya, Vacha, Manasa, everything in serving the Lord. And he understands that he is not the doer. The senses are coming in interaction with sense objects. I am not the doer. And he also knows that everyone is dear to that Supreme Lord. So I should be serving everyone. You know, all these realizations he has. And he is striving for a purification, Atma Shuddhi. You know, so in such a state, he gains many benefits. In fact, goes on to see that he is not bound by any reactions of this world. He attains purification. It's like that famous example was given. What was the example given for Karma Yogi? You remember? Very famous example.
Lotus flower, lotus.
Lotus leaf. Lotus leaf which is untouched by water. Like that, the Karma Yogi is untouched by any reaction, though he is in this world. So very important principles. In fact, the next section is very important section, very practical also, the 3 doers. We will discuss that in the next session only. Thank you very much. I think there are some devotees waiting for shloka test also today. Are they there?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So I end it here. We will meet again on Monday. Yes, Monday.
Hare Krishna.
Monday evening.
Prabhuji, one question, Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhuji, is the Sankhya philosophy explained in the previous chapters and the Sankhya he's referring here? Are they same? I get a little confused with Sankhya. Prabhu.
So the Sankhya Tattva was explained, where Krishna told about Atma, the endurance of Atma, the eternality of Atma, which was told in the 2.11 to 30. Atma Jnana, Atma Anatma Viveka, that was explained. 2.11 to 30. That's the Sankhya section in the second chapter. Yeah, that knowledge is there in a Sankhya yogi. So he is analyzing what is eternal, what is temporary. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha. One of the shlokas say. That which is eternal doesn't have an end. That which is temporary, it doesn't endure. So he's always saying neti, neti, he's doing this. So that is the understanding of Sankhya yogi, and that is karma sannyasa. That's how it's equated. That's clear? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavadgita ki jai.
Thank you,
Srila
Prabhu.
Prabhupada ki.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
So we
Prabhuji.
will
Hare
meet
Krishna.
Monday evening 6:30. Those who have shlokas can stay back. Others can log off. Dasraj Prabhu, do you know who are the ones?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dasraj Prabhu went to Yadagirikutta temple, Prabhuji.
Oh, really? Okay.
Tomorrow
So
we
do you
have
know?
Bhagavatam distributions.
Okay, no problem. So do
Prabhuji,
you know, Mataji? Who are
yes,
the...
Prabhuji. Out of 6, only 2 are attending today, Prabhuji. 4, they have some urgent work, so they have dropped today.
Okay.
Sandhya
So
Mataji
tell
and
the names so that we can take the test quickly.
Sandhya Mataji and Pawan Prabhuji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dhanavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dhanavad Pranam. I am spotlighting you. So those who have the